Sorry, I cannot get your point.
And you're still going to Nepal
Yes,
as planned?
yes.
Yes.
Next
Staying
month.
staying in Bangkok until then.
Yeah,
Yes.
until Nepal trip.
Yes, yes. Morning, Gabby. How are you?
So I changed to the listening mode. Yes, thank you.
Are you there, Ajahn?
Yes, สวัสดีค่ะ everyone.
สวัสดีค่ะ Ajahn.
สวัสดีครับท่านอาจารย์สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
Yes, as I,
ท่านอาจารย์ครับ
สวัสดีครับ everybody. As I just mentioned to Kun Em again, we'll be traveling tomorrow and Monday, but we'll be joining the discussion next Saturday and onwards as usual. And Rit, at the end of the discussion last week, you were asking about the paramis and the 30 paramis and actually 10 paramis, but different levels of paramis. Anything else you would like to discuss about paramis? Or anything else you'd like to ask about?
Actually, not really, but maybe just one to listen more again and again. Yeah. Because Ajahn always remind and talk about parami. Yeah, quite a lot as well. So it's very interesting, a bit more and more about, like Thana Parami and Thana Upaparami and Thana Paramata Parami. Have you heard that before, Sarah?
Just before we continue with that, I just would like to welcome a very old dear friend, Gillian Peachy. Very glad to see you, Gilly. And Gilly is also a close friend of Azita's, and we've known Gilly for a very long time. And this is her first time joining the discussion. And I think for friends like Gillian who are not so familiar with Pali terms, then if anyone uses them, they need to explain and elaborate. Otherwise, it's confusing for those who are joining for the first time. So if you would like to explain about your question in simple English, Rit, carry on. Now we can't hear you.
I'm preparing my headphone a bit. Yeah. Maybe Mr. Sundara, he would like to say something too. Yeah.
In simple English, because for the benefit of newcomers, yes. But basically your question was just about the different degrees of paramis that you mentioned last time. So these are the perfections or the qualities that are developed with right understanding, such as patience and right effort and generosity and equanimity, for example. And so I think the question was about different levels, and we discussed this very briefly at the end about how they can be divided into different degrees, because there can be a little right effort or strong effort, a little patient or strong patience. But let's see if Ajahn would like to add any more.
Is it now Parami?
Yes, Ajahn, also Parami.
What level? What level?
It, it's just the basic level. Right. Oh, Kanti Parami, Kanti Parami. Kanti to, patient Parami, to listen to Buddha words, each word again and again, because it's very profound. So patient to listen the Buddha words again and again. Yeah.
Is it
The
Parami when one is trying to to make it what level, to know what level it is?
Can you say again, please, Ajahn?
Is it Parami while one is trying to know what level it is?
Uh, Trying to know. So if it's attachment, really want to know something, maybe it's not Parami. It's just
That's
attachment.
right.
So
Each level of Parami is working its way. That's all.
And how long does the parami last for when it arises, Rit?
yeah, it's very short moment. Very,
Oh,
very short.
yes. So we think when we're listening to the Dhamma that there are all the paramis being developed and understanding being developed, but actually it's just for a moment when there is right understanding, at moments when there's trying to understand or trying to work it out or wishing to be aware, wanting to know the answer. At those moments, no parami at all. So it's just for a moment when understanding develops naturally, different from moments of trying to work it out.
Like Thana Parami, it's in general we understand that like giving things, like giving food, giving some things, physical things to other people. And Thana Upaparami is giving, for example, give our children or wife to the other people. And Dana Paramadabarami is to give our like everything, even though our life to the other people. Yeah,
De-
the highest
depend-
level is
Depending on the understanding at that moment, like giving their life as a sacrifice, maybe with very strong wrong understanding, for example. So we cannot just say giving food or giving the children or giving the life at different levels of parami, because it has to come down to the understanding at this very moment. There can be giving food with attachment. Usually it's with attachment. Giving away one's children can be for many different motives. So we cannot say that for us, like the bodhisattva, that each kind of giving indicates different levels of paramis. So that's why Ajahn asked, what about now? Is it parami now? Without understanding, we just follow the words, but cannot know about this moment.
And what would be an example of giving away one's life, Rit, as you mentioned? What do you mean by giving away one's life as the highest kind of parami?
Yeah, it's a good example. As we know, Bodhisattva, he eon in eon, he can give life, everything as the Dana Parami. Even
I'm
though
asking about for you or me. What are we talking about here? I know we read about what we read about in the Jatakas, but how do you understand that as having any application?
I think Parami is very deep and very profound, and it's not really easy to understand, to know in daily life, because we attach to self too much. Yeah. Even
So
though
it's not
simple
really
things.
possible for us to imagine what that might be, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So when we read about the Bodhisattva in a previous life giving his life for something, there's probably no real appreciation of the kind of consciousness at that time.
Yeah. Because the wisdom, the higher levels of wisdom, of panya, to understand that it's just reality, it is anatta, it is non-self. So why we have to attach, why we have to keep life if we can give, yeah, if we can share or donate to other people, because it's non-self, because it's anatta. So why we have to attach to ourselves?
When you say it's non-self, anatta, what is non-self and anatta? What exactly is it that is non-self, anatta?
Yeah, tappe Dhamma anatta. Yeah,
So it's conditioned dhammas that are anatta.
yeah, yeah. And I just think, in just coming up into my mind about another example. I think Sotapanna, for example, Sotapanna will, even though some people force Sotapanna to kill or to do some things that wrong sila, Sotapanna will not afraid to die or to do that thing. Yeah. But Patuchana is opposite. Patuchana is always afraid because it's a lot of self.
And what about now? Is there any understanding of dhammas now as anatta, as not self? Is there any development of paramis right now? Otherwise, we just think about the bodhisattva and we think about the sotapanna and we think about what we've read in the Charya or Jatakas. But what about this moment? What about understanding now? Any development of paramis now? Otherwise, we just think about different kinds of giving we've read about, but it's not the understanding of Dhamma now.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah and Jonathan. It's always
That's the main
reminding
point.
me
Yeah.
to keep us in the present moment.
Yes. Yes. Otherwise, we're just lost in the story, the fantasy, and how great to give away one's wives and children and one's life. And this is the greatest parami. But actually, it's no understanding of parami now. And I'd like to, Azita, perhaps you'd like to give a little summary of the one or two of the chats you've been having with Gillian to see if there are any topics it would be good to hear Ajahn talk about more or to discuss further.
She's actually here. Are you
I
able to
thought
hear
you
me?
might like to help introduce the topic. Oh, she's here with.
Yeah, she's here.
Okay.
So
Gillian, is there anything you would like to discuss about from the perfections that you've got in front of you,
Look,
or anything else?
I'm very much a beginner, and I'm just starting to think about now, what is now. And I've just looked up the 10 perfections and I found a definition of parami. So I feel quite excited about that because this book has an index in the back, which is really helpful. But I know that's not being aware, it's just being happy because I found the answer. So I don't know, I'm just learning. I'm grade 1, thank you. It's great.
we can't hear you, Sarah.
And anything you've been discussing recently with Azita that you would like to discuss further?
Look, yes, it's really interesting. Every now and again we have an exchange, and no, I can't. I suppose I'm reading and I'm talking, but am I actually in the moment? That's the thing. That's what I'm learning. And it's not me, and it's not forever. And that's the exciting thing about this. It's an adventure. And while I'm talking, I can't step back. Like I'm hearing myself. I'm looking at you, but I have so little practice of being in this way of being, which I'm reading about. So yeah, I'm just learning. Ask me in a couple of months' time. Thank you.
Anyway, those were many good comments and a good introduction, Jilly. So very glad to hear that. And of course, we think about being in the moment, but actually there is only ever the moment. So it's always, if you like, in the moment. It's always this moment, but usually no understanding of what this moment is. So the moment is always just now and now and now, but there has to be the considering and reflecting about what the moment is, as the Buddha taught. We think about the moment as reading and talking and listening and coming here and going there, but we learn gradually that this is just a conventional idea about the moment, but the truths at the moment are much more subtle. Like we think, I can see you, I can see Azita, but actually what is seen now, or we think we can hear different voices, different words, but what is actually heard now. So we consider a little more about what the moment is, because that's the only way to understand what is Dhamma and what is anatta, which Rit mentioned. Perhaps Ajahn would like to add more.
I know you had to dash away there for a minute, Gillian, but I'll just go over slightly one or two things that Sarah said, as you might have missed it. So I think what she was explaining was that rather than thinking about being in the moment, we are thinking about understanding the true nature of the present moment, whatever it may be. So we're not trying to be more focused or be more present or something like that, but to have a better understanding of what the reality of the present moment is. So whether it's thinking about the past, it's still thinking, and thinking is a reality, it's consciousness. and seeing and hearing are other kinds of consciousness that would be arising at the present moment, and thinking about what has been seen and heard. So it's a matter of understanding what are the realities that make up what we take for the present moment, and beginning to appreciate that there are realities that we have not been aware of previously. So we're aware of our concept of what's happening at the present moment, rather than the reality of what's happening, of the moments of seeing, hearing, before there is recognition of what has been seen and heard, for example. Or it might be attachment, it might be pleasant feeling, or whatever. These are all conditioned realities which arise unbidden by us, happen to be there at the present moment, and can be the object of understanding, awareness and understanding. So it's not so much me being aware as there being awareness of what is the true nature of the reality of the present moment.
And usually we think, I need to do something to be aware, or I need to catch the reality. But it's not like that, because of course, as you know, no I to do anything. So it's the understanding that has to develop naturally from the hearing, the considering, the reflecting, not trying to catch the present moment reality. So this is quite an important distinction.
Yeah.
Would you like to add more, Ajahn?
Okay, Gillian, do you like to answer question? Do you like to answer question? Any question?
I just listened to Sarah and Jonathan, and I felt like, okay, I can hear that it's not I, but as yet, I really haven't got that experience. Yeah, it's a life of learning, I think, or it's like I'm just learning the words. I'm reading various books, and yes, it's early days. Like, how can it not be me? I think sort of like, and yet it's not. I occasionally I get a slight glimmer of, no, it's not me. I'm like this piece of, I don't know, something physical and mental and everything moving along from birth to death. And yeah, I'm really interested in these teachings. So thank you. I don't know what to ask at this stage.
I mean, when there is a question, would you like to answer to know how much understanding to that question?
Do you mind being asked a question by Ajahn?
Oh, no, that's fine if you, yes.
May I ask, if you don't ask me, may I ask you?
Yes, please.
Okay. What are you? Not who are you, but what are you?
Well, I'm a human being.
What do you mean?
I know those are words, that's a concept, as like we're all people, we all talk and think and do stuff, and it's all that doing that I'm really interested in, which you talk about, the different ways of doing and thinking, the different degrees of wisdom and detachment and compassion but as to what I am, like, I don't know if I'm not a human being. Like a long time ago, the teacher said, like, look at a table, is it the legs or the top or any of that? But what I see is a shape, and I call it a table or a human being, but how can I, do you have an answer? Do you have some advice for me from there?
What I see is seeing you. When you said, what I see is seeing you,
I do know a little about Nama and Rupa, so I'm trying to grasp the meaning of those. I really like those words, like, but I am seeing, and for a moment there, what I see, the colors is Rupa, I guess. And so I'm just learning to look at the moments in my life, and maybe, yeah, as I read more and listen to you, I'll have more understanding.
when there is seeing, it is you see or I see, is that right? But when there's no seeing, it's still seeing you.
I don't know.
At moment of seeing, you said, I see, is that right?
Yes, yes.
But when there's no seeing, no you see.
Oh, yes, okay.
But actually, when seeing does not arise yet, where are you?
Good question. I don't know. Where am I? I suppose I've gone off in something else, like I'm thinking about something or I'm hearing something. You know, one of the other doorways is open.
If seeing does not arise at all, is there I see?
No,
If hearing does not arise, is there I hear?
no.
So seeing arises by conditions and then gone. Where are you?
Good. Yes, I'm not there.
And where are you?
Where am I?
Excuse
I
me.
feel as if I would be feeling something. I'd be feeling the chair, or I haven't really evaporated into the air, have I?
And if that feeling does not arise, where are you?
I'll have to think about this.
So, can seeing be you when it does not arise and then it's conditioned to arise and then fallen away, never to return, never to arise again? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm not there. I
So
don't think.
know you at all.
No.
They are only seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, liking, disliking, feeling, memory, and everything in life. Not you. Is it right?
Yes, you're right. That's right.
It's not you, but does it belong to you?
I would sort of like to think it does, but maybe it doesn't.
No,
I
you
think,
at all. No, you at all. If nothing arises, right?
yeah,
But when something arises, no understanding that that is real because it's there, performing its function, seeing sees, it cannot think, it cannot hear, it's conditioned to arise just to see and then gone, etc. Is it
yes,
true? So
yeah,
actually, they are only different realities by condition, arising and falling away instantly, from moment to moment, in split seconds. So in truth, there are only different conditioned realities arising, performing its function, seeing sees, hearing hears, thinking think, like likes, and so on. No one at all. Just a moment of conditioned reality just to arise, seeing, hearing, and then gone. And they are not just the realities which experiences the object, which feels, which remembers, which likes or dislike. They are also a reality which cannot experience anything at all. For example, hardness. It's touched, but hardness itself cannot experience anything at all because it just arises to be hard. Is that right?
yeah,
Can it change to be smell? It's hard.
yes,
It cannot be changed. It's hard no matter when it arises, anytime. It's hard. So hardness is a reality and smell is another reality.
yeah,
That's why what is taken for something or someone or me or my friend are different realities, conditioned, arising and falling away. So very, very quickly, very, very unknown, very, very subtle, like now. Seeing is not hearing. At moment of hearing, there cannot be seeing. At moment of seeing, there cannot be hearing. Just one moment of experiencing an object at a time. Is this life from birth to death? Non-stop, arising and falling away, never to return. Only once in lifetime in samsara, never be the same thing again as it gone, never to return, never to arise again. The Pali term of the word sunyata, completely, absolutely gone forever. So life is conditioned from moment of birth on to moment of death, different moments, never be the same moment at all. So in truth, what is taken for something or someone are different realities arising together very quickly. What appears is only the shape and form, like many dots, not just one dot. Just one dot cannot be anything at all, but many, many dots, it appears as star and moon and tree and flower and so on. Is this what the world one is today without any understanding of the ultimate truth? Nothing is left. Each moment, never go back to previous moment at all. Gone completely. On and on and on, non-stop. As long as there are conditions for whatever arises, it has to arise. And as soon as it's conditioned to arise, it's gone, finished, conditioned, because condition it to just arise. When it has a reason, no one can make it last at all. It's gone. Is this true or not true? Life is not permanent and it cannot be taken for anything permanent at all. It's just there by conditions and gone. Different moment. The moment of birth is not the moment of seeing. The moment of seeing is not the moment of thinking. All are different conditioned realities by different life to be different personality, or we say different person, but in truth, what is taken for a person is only different realities, conditioned realities. So we learn to understand a little more about this ultimate truth. Learn about what is seeing. It's not that which is seen, even in a moment. The seeing sees. So it's a reality arises to experience, to know an object.
In other words, Jilly, we think, sorry, Ajahn, carry on.
So you have learned about the word nama and rupa. It's not the word, but it's a reality. So please, Sarah, go on.
So we think, I am seeing, I am feeling, I am hearing. But the point is, there are just these different realities. So as Jan was explaining, the seeing is different from what is seen. And the seeing just arises by conditions and is gone. So no eye that can be found that sees. And when the seeing's gone, no eye that can be found that thinks or hears or anything else. So it's just the reality, a Dhamma, that arises by conditions and experiences what is seen or what is heard. So you mentioned namas and rupas. So rupas are the realities that cannot experience anything. So the visible object that is seen now is a rupa, not someone, not something, just what is visible before there is thinking about shapes, colors, appearances, Azita, Ajan, and so on. And the seeing which sees that visible object is a nama. So it's not I that sees, it is a nama, a dhamma that experiences the object. So the rupas cannot experience anything, but the namas can experience the object. So seeing is a nama, hearing is a nama, thinking is a nama, feeling is a nama. These are all namas, not my experience, not I that feel, not I that see, not I that hear. So learning a little more about these different realities, about the different namas that experience and the rupas that don't experience anything is a way to gradually let go of the idea of I. Like even if we were talking like with Rit about giving food and so on, it has to be the understanding that it's just a reality, not my giving, not my giving of different levels, but just a reality that arises for a moment and is gone. Nothing lasts at all. And as Ajahn was saying, whatever arises is completely gone forever. It's the nyata, which is like another way of saying anatta, no one there, nothing there. So the Buddha's teaching, the heart of it is really learning about the different realities, which are anatta, not self, different namas that experience an object, different rupas that don't experience anything. And it's this moment. So it's not trying to catch it, trying to know it, but just considering what is true now, whether there really is a I that can see or hear, or whether it's just a reality that arises and is gone instantly. Is it beginning to make a little more sense? We can't hear you, Jilly.
Yeah, I've just got to run away and plug my laptop in. It's telling me my power's running out. I'm listening, and as I'm listening, you're reminding me of things I kind of know, but not on such a deep level, which I guess is the practice. And yeah, I know that you can't make things happen. You can't get wiser because you tell yourself to be wiser. I know there's conditions, and I hope that by, following the teachings, my understanding will deepen in time. So it's not so much thinking, but actually experiencing life the way you're describing it.
And it's not I that develop understanding. So that, as you say, the understanding develops and grows deeper, but not by I trying or practicing or trying to have awareness arise. So it's just very naturally,
Okay.
nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just let the understanding develop itself naturally by the considering and reflecting carefully and the reading as you're doing, but actually no one doing anything. So no one seeing, no one hearing, no one understanding, no one feeling, and the kindness or generosity or understanding don't belong to me, just like the attachment and ignorance don't belong to me either. Nothing belongs to anyone. There are just different dharmas arising and falling away by conditions, as you said. It reminds me of chats we used to have a long time ago. But the point is, the idea of I and self is so very deeply rooted that there has to be the considering, the listening, the discussing again and again, because we're so used to the idea of I that can see, I that can control, I that has this or that feeling. So that's why there needs to be a lot of careful reflecting.
Yeah.
And just to add briefly, Jilly, there's knowing and at different levels, of course, and there's just purely conceptual book knowledge kind of knowing, and then there's knowing at a deeper level, which can be considered a kind of understanding. So you are right when you say that the Dhamma is to be understood at deeper and deeper levels, but it happens naturally, so it can't be speeded up in any way. It just happens by organic development, as it were, and the conditions for that are hearing the Buddha's description of the present moment, as we've been talking about now, and considering it, reflecting on it from time to time as it happens, because of one's interest in learning more about it. And if those factors are present, then that is sufficient for the understanding to develop deeper. And we can say that any moment of understanding is a kind of practice, is a moment of practice. So it's just that understanding that is the practice, rather than thinking of doing something in order to have understanding. It's just the gradual, incremental, deeper knowledge or understanding itself that is the practice.
Rosita or anyone else, would you like to add anything?
Yes, I'd just like to add to what Jonathan was saying. I think slowly there's learning that it is the present moment. It has to be the present moment. There's no I to do any practicing. It's what it is. As we get more and more intellectual understanding, then there is some sort of knowing that there's no I to do anything, and it is only the present moment that can be known. No matter what the present moment is, it might be happy, it might be sad, it might be anything, any of the emotions, it might be seeing, hearing. But it's those moments that we take for self. And because they arise and fall ever so quickly, and because the wisdom is not sharp enough, and may not be sharp for eons, I hate to tell you, but it's a slow process, but it just becomes deeper and deeper as understanding grows. And it is just the present moment that can be known, not the one just gone, not the one not yet come. Now is it. So good to have you here, Gillian. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
I'm kind of pinching myself, but thank you. It's great. Thank you. Thank
Can I
you,
join you a
Rosita, for
little
bringing
bit?
me along.
Hello, Julian.
Yeah,
Julian.
hello.
So let's back to the Achan's question.
Yeah.
What are you now? What are you? Not who are you, but what are you?
I'm a lot of flesh and bone. Am I flesh and bone? I don't know. Well, I think so, but knowing is like to talk about flesh and bone and all the words and the poetry we talk about. They're just ideas, and as you keep saying, it's only the present moment that's here. And I feel like I'm here, or somebody's here, or I don't know. Is there a better word than I, or I don't know.
I think if you try and get rid of the word I, you're trying to control, that we need conventional language to communicate with each other. So saying I did this, I did that, it's okay. It's the belief behind it. Do I really believe there is an I, or am I just communicating to, for communication's sake? Because the Buddha also spoke in conventional language, but had no wrong idea about what was really happening. Sorry, Rit, I took over from you.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, I'm happy to hear from you. So
Good to see you.
You are right. You are right that you said that you just a human being in conventional Panyati. It is true. Yeah. And then how
And
about in reality? What are you in reality? In Dhamma?
I'm not sure what I'm there, or whether I have any. Yeah, I don't know. Could you give me a couple of months to work out the answer? I'll look in. I've got all these books, so I'll read some and see.
Yeah, because Achan asked you, and then she explained already, and Sarah and Jonathan also explained after Achan asked the question. It's just the reality that just namas and rupas, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Yeah, like
I think I
seeing, just
get
seeing,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
hearing, just hearing, and thinking, just thinking. It's no human or be, being thinking at all. And thinking is just thinking. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yes.
What is thinking, really?
Well, I think I'm very attached to thinking and I'm very attached to finding the right word. So I've got some homework to do. I've got to think, oh, that was me being searching for an answer, because I think that's a good thing to do. I am. I think if I just say, oh, I'm Nama and Rupa, that feels simple. I'm experiencing. I do see the things like the colors, so that's Rupa, but that's not me. I'm just the Nama that's experiencing the color. But
And really, it's not I experiencing the colors as we discussed. I think the question, what are you, is a very difficult question, because actually, as you've heard now, there are just different namas and rupas, but these are not you. They're not anyone. So it's a very tricky question. So actually now there are just these different mental and physical phenomena, these different namas and rupas arising and falling away by conditions. Not I that sees, not I that hears, just different namas, but namas are not I. As Zita says, we can use conventional language, but in truth, no I to be found.
yeah, that sounds like a very helpful thing to understand or eventually.
And I think you
about.
made a good point when you said and appreciated that when it's now just trying to work out what are the right words or what is the right answer, then it's just clinging. So that's what the understanding comes back to, just understanding what appears now. So clinging now, wishing to know now, just different dharmas, not my clinging, not I trying, but just different namas and rupas, different moments of clinging, different moments of understanding. And this is why parami or perfection cannot be something that lasts while we're listening to a discussion at the moment of trying to find the right words. It's not parami at those moments. It's not understanding. So the understanding is for a moment, the clinging is for a moment, the seeing is for a moment, the hearing is for a moment. These are all different namas that arise for a moment by conditions and are gone, none of them of any importance. And what is gone is gone, of no importance whatsoever.
Please excuse me. I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Eve.
All right, thank you. That instead of I, an entity, it's actually consciousness is the nama, which experiences, and the Pali term is chitta. Doesn't really matter so much what it's called, but as Tanajan says so beautifully, that it is the chief of experience. So, but in speaking conventionally, I, rather than saying chitta or consciousness, it's a bit awkward, but I just wanted to pitch that into the discussion. Thank you.
Just to elaborate a little more, Jilly, we mentioned there are namas and rupas, and there are two kinds of namas, two kinds of realities that experience the object. One kind are the chittas, which Eve just mentioned, the chief of experiencing the object. So seeing is a citta, hearing is a citta, thinking is a citta. I'll put it in the note form in the chat when I've finished, so you don't have to look it up. And the other one are cetasikas. These are the mental factors. So the feelings are cetasikas, the attachment is cetasika, the understanding are cetasikas. So each citta has to be accompanied by several or many cetasikas to experience an object. But the terms are not important for now, but we're just talking about different realities that experience. She's holding up my book. Yes. Okay, I just put a note in the chat about these terms. I think if anyone uses Pali terms, please explain in detail, because otherwise it's very difficult for newcomers.
And just briefly, Gillian, the other book from Ajahn Sujin, the Survey of Paramattha-Dhamma, that's a really good one to read as well. Excellent.
Also, one more thing is about the listening to the words which explain these things which don't sound very familiar. And this is called pariyatti in Pali. It's the first level of understanding the teachings of the Buddha, the conceptual level, which is without it we wouldn't be able to progress to the next level, which I think you mentioned as a practice. And so, because without the explanation of the reality, we would take for real what is not real, as we are doing right now. Like I'm seeing you on the screen, and I'm hearing words. I'm hearing even my words while speaking. So we definitely need the words of the absolute truth, the words of Paramattha-Dhamma, like citta, like cittasikas, for beginning to being exposed to the truth which the Buddha enlightened, which is completely different from what we take for truth, which is conventional truth only. Still interested?
But the point is, I think that we can talk about the realities that the Buddha taught about without using any Pali terms, because whatever is most helpful for the listeners is what is appropriate at the time. So gradually, the terms can be introduced one by one, but in the beginning, if there are too many terms, it's just confusing and nothing is understood. So it's not the terms, a word that's important, but the helping anyone to understand the truth in their own language. Anyway, a few more points from Eve and Alberto and other friends to consider, Jilly, all to just understand a little more about different kinds of realities, different kinds of dharmas, in order to understand that none of them belong to a self. No one sees, no one hears, no one has happy feeling or sad feeling. They are just different realities that arise and fall away, either experiencing an object or those which are experienced. And the point that Alberto was stressing is that there has to be the understanding of the distinction between these realities and the ideas or the concepts that are taken for being realities, which usually we think are the realities, like I and the table and the chair and the ones you gave before. But I know you appreciate this point. Yeah.
Gillian, does it make sense to you?
Hello?
Does it make sense to you?
Oh yeah, I well, as much as yes, it does. And of course, the degree to which I actually experience what you're saying, that's well, it's nothing really, but it, first of all, you learn, you think, you develop the concepts, you practice. I guess, you increasingly have the experience of not self. But that takes a bit of time, I think. It could be really fleeting. It might just be 1 second every 6 months. I don't know, but I'll see.
And in truth, it's just the understanding that has that fleeting understanding, not anyone at all.
And I think it's important to keep in mind that the understanding of no self has as its basis the understanding of these realities that we've been discussing. So it's not something to be considered in the abstract. One can't start with the notion that there's no self and develop from there. It has to begin with what is appearing at the present moment and getting to understand these. And it's from that understanding that eventually one is able to draw the conclusion that there is no self, because each of these realities that is experienced, that comes to be directly known, can be seen as not being the self. So just to keep in mind that one doesn't start out trying to see there's no self. That's not the development of the path at all. No, right? Thanks.
That's reassuring. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else
So
have any?
No eyes, no you to experience anything. Yeah.
Well, that's just the point. That's just the point I was trying to make, Rick. You can't just start by saying there's no I. It's not. It's meaningless. It's just the I saying there's no I. So the question is, what is real at the present moment? What is there that can be directly known and understood? no I is almost as far away as Nibbana.
Yeah, because Chili said that I attach to thinking a lot on experience, but in reality, it's no I attached to
It
anything.
doesn't help to say that, because of course there's going to be attachment. And attachment to thinking is normal, natural for all of us. But it's understanding the reality of the thinking, not getting rid of the attachment. That is the way to the understanding of no I.
John, this is Robert.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
Yeah. I am just in Saudi. My phone's a little not a very good signal, but I'll try to.
No, I'm hearing you okay. Thanks.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. So, aren't what you're saying directly knowing the moment? That sounds like pati pati rather than pariyati. Don't we need to hear and consider the pariyati, that in fact there is no self, that anatta, anicca, and dukkha are the characteristics of reality, and then gradually we see in the present moment that these are universal truths. Whereas if we try to see, if we're seeing the present moment and thinking, is it true or is it not, that seems to be going from pati pati back to pariyati almost.
I wasn't suggesting that, but let me respond to your first point by saying, can the characteristic of a reality be known without understanding the reality as a reality in the first place?
Well, where do we get that from, though, to understand that? We hear and we consider, and that's not direct experience yet, is it?
No.
So, so considering, did the Buddha teach rightly? Is this pariyati correct? You know, we're confirming that at some level, and then starting to confirm it directly, I would say.
What is confirmed first? The reality or the characteristic?
Well, what's the difference?
Well, the difference is that a characteristic is something that belongs to a reality. So there can't be the understanding of a characteristic before there's the understanding of the reality.
Yeah, I'm not quite following what you mean.
Perhaps we.
I got what Jonathan means. Yeah, I understand, and thank you for letting me keep in mind about your point.
May I say?
Let someone else have a go.
I thought, is it all right if I say something, please?
Head Eve, and I know John may like to add some more after you too. Go ahead.
Yes, just that as Tana John was speaking about how the rupa or whatever, for example, visible object arises and immediately falls away, so it is the same with consciousness, chitta, if you will, which experiences the object. It arises and immediately follows away, just one moment of consciousness. So that both are impermanent, not lasting at all. And that this impermanence when Tanajan was asking about, well, where are you? If seeing does not arise to see the object, where are you? Well, there is no self. The self is gone. So I think that way of working the edge of it, rather than going to the totality of there is no self, which is incomprehensible at this point, is just the impermanence that these, both the nama and the rupa, or consciousness, chitta, that which experiences, and that which is experienced, arise and fall away immediately, that they are impermanent. And that is a characteristic they have in common. Thank you.
By the way, Robert, did you want to bring up the topic that we were discussing a lot on DSG with Ajahn about the rupas and the kalapas and so on? Maybe he's not there. Can you hear me, Robert? No.
Hello. Did someone speak then? I couldn't quite catch that.
I was just, Robert, while you're here, which is not so often, was there anything from the topic that we were discussing on DSG that you would like to bring up with Ajahn about the rupa impinging on eye sense? And
let me point out then, in the Tika to the Visuddhimagga, it notes the visible object in one kalapa. Just one visible object can't be seen. Yeah, I think because it's extremely tiny. Now, as I understand it, Sarah, you were saying that it's repeated. There'll be a process that'll see, and then there'll be mind or processes, and then another process of seeing, and then more mind or processes, and eventually these add up, and the concept of something that is seen happens. Whereas my contention is that a kalapa, the visible object in the kalapa, is extremely tiny, and there may be 100 processes, okay, before another one is seen. So I don't see how it can be that something as tiny as a kalapa can be seen. And what I think is that there's a group of kalapas, that maybe 5, 10, 100, 1,000, still very tiny, but they are seen at once at the same thing, like a little blob of yellow, a tiny pinpoint of yellow would be seen as one object rather than just one kalapa in that tiny pinpoint. Because it just seems, how could something so tiny be detected by the seeing consciousness? It just doesn't seem logical to me. That's my contention.
Right. Okay, I've discussed it a lot, so let's see if Ajahn would like to address this point.
Each of these vipaka, this jaku vijnana, is actually either the result of kusala or akusala. So, say seeing in a piece of dung, and suddenly you note a very tiny piece of dung, but you notice, say, a gold ring that's put in there. The gold, that golden color is rather, that might be the result of kusala, but the dung surrounding it is the seeing that visible object, that ugly visible object, is result of akusala. But the actual seeing alternates between kusala and akusala. It's seeing the gold and seeing the ugly brown color. So it seems to me it has to be that way, that it's more than just one tiny, really invisible kalapa, invisible visible object. Even though we call it visible object, it's just too tiny. Okay, that's probably summing up what I think.
Okay, Ajahn, would you like to add any comments?
Oh, thanks.
And what is seen now is seen just like by the micro, what's the word? Not microphone, but micro something which can see very tiny particle
Yeah.
that the eye cannot see.
Is that a question? Yeah. I mean, obviously the eye can see very tiny particles, but they're not seen at the Kalapa level. That's what I'm saying. Although the eye sense is sensitive enough to detect, extremely tiny objects, how could it see something? How could it distinguish something as tiny as the visible object in just one Kalapa?
Let's talk about this. We say this moment, but in truth, so many moments because there are many things around, but each particle has to impinge on the eye base. Otherwise, that cannot be seen. That's why Buddha said, whatever is seen by nimitta, no matter what is experienced by way of nimitta, not as we take it for one moment, one grupa, because one moment, how many hundreds split seconds, or thousands, or millions, who knows? That's why what appears now, learn to understand that the arising and falling away of each one cannot be known because what appears by way of nimitta, everything. Whatever arises appears by nimitta of one characteristic of a reality. See?
Yeah, I missed a little bit of that. I suddenly had a bad connection, John. But of course, nimitta, we totally agree that we're checking up.
That's why it's not necessary to think about how many moments or how many particles, but what is seen now is not just one tiny object, a rose, not one tiny object, a leaf, not one tiny object, and just what about one piece of hair can be cut off into many, many pieces. See, who knows that? That's why it's the world of atta, not the world of anatta. And as it does not appear as it is, what appears just one characteristic can be known. That there are so many moments of that, not one moment at all.
Yeah, totally agree, John. And of course, whatever we're talking about, it's nimitta that is known. And obviously, before, there must be many, many processes. But I'm just skeptical of this actual seeing moment, the Jaku Vijnana, seeing just one kalapa, one visible object in one kalapa only. I mean, we totally agree on the fact that it's many moments and the nimitta that is known.
And for a process of seeing, see, just one particular object which hasn't fallen away yet can be experienced by not just seeing, because seeing is the one which really sees, the chief of experience the object, but the citta before and the citta after in the same process, see, cannot see. So now it seems like there is seeing, only seeing all the time. In truth, it's not. That's why we learn to understand that what appears, we live in the world of nimitta, or life. That's all. And what appears can be learned, not that which does not appear. So at this moment of seeing, we don't count how many moments and how many particles we don't count has seen or has been seen. See, who knows? But even just attend to the characteristic of that which does not experience. We don't count how many, but it's there to be known that it's different from that which sees or experiences it. Just learn to let go the whole world, the whole universe into just one doorway by way of nimitta too. So understand how blind one lives in the world, just take whatever is there unknowingly that is gone as something permanent. In order to experience the reality, even the vipassana jhana, which is clearer than the first round or the second round, but the third round, it does not appear as we learned from the book about one citta at a time at all. Sampatichana does not appear, Panchatwara does not appear, but seeing sees, only seeing appear. So who can understand Sampatichana besides the seeing consciousness? Impossible. That's why Buddha taught about nimitta. The word appears as nimitta of different realities. Seeing is not thinking, see? How many moments? Uncountable. So only that which appears to be known can be known as it is. Not just try to find out the moment of Panchattvara Vajna or Sampatichana and Santirana. Only seeing now appear to be known, but it's not known because the rapidity of the arising and falling away. So it's beyond thinking. So no matter how much one think about whatever which does not appear, it's beyond that.
Yep, all makes sense to me, Ajahn. Just what I'm say debating a bit is saying that it's only the actual moment is actually only one, as I said, one visible object and one kalapa. All of about the speed of the processes, the repetition, the nimitta only is known. Yeah, very, very clear. I'm just wondering on that little point, minor point, but yeah, that's all.
It can appear clear only to right understanding. Panya, different levels.
Yeah.
Because the first vipassana jhana is not as clear as the higher Mahavipassana jhana. See, that's why the truth is so unimaginable at all. Because just like the frog in the water or the fish in the water, how can they know what on the bank goes on or are there beyond imagination? That's why just learn to understand the parami without patience and satya. Satya not trying to experience one process. Because now, how many mind processes in between one sensor process? But now there are many sensor processes, not just one process. Sensor process, hearing and seeing, see, who can separate it? Even they are separated. And what are there in between the mind, mini mind, and process and sensor in between? Even mind are much more than sensor.
Right.
But that's not appear. Mind does. That's why just learn to understand what appears, to fathom the depth of the reality, which is so very deep. And right understanding has to touch the skin and go deeper and deeper and deeper to the truth. No one, nothing, only reality, one characteristic at a time by nimitta. Only that which doesn't have nimitta is that which does not arise, nibbana, no nimitta. Whatever arises appear by way of nimitta because of the rapidity. For example, minder and sensor now. Minder does not appear at all. If one does not close one's eye, if nothing appears, how can there be the understanding of what minder is? That's why just learn to understand patiently about the truth, that how much understanding is about what is there. So when we say, a moment. It doesn't mean just a moment. The understanding of what is there in that very moment. And that very moment is not just one process, one moment only. Many moments appears now. Many moments appear as one moment for now. Is it moment of seeing or hearing or touching? They seem they are there. While touching, there is hearing and seeing. So just learn to understand firmer and firmer about the reality which is conditioned to arise, not at will. And as soon as it has arisen, it falls away instantly. No one can stop it, can make it last at all. It's gone. So now the breaking world, see, imagine the difference between now many realities appears even to one doorway, the eye door, and about the ear door, and about the thinking mind door. They seem that they are all there. But in truth, imagine just one reality appear. The other reality cannot appear together at all. When sound is there, sight or light cannot be there. So in truth, when it is vipassana jnana, the world is not like the world of light and people and things at all. Only the world of that one reality appearing and falling away. If there's no understanding of the difference between the rupa or the nama, how can one is known that it's not the other, not the next one? That's why be truthful to the truth. How much understanding about Dhamma, what is there, is conditioned to arise. If it does not arise, it cannot be there at all. And who knows the arising and falling away of one nimitta? In truth, so many processes condition one nimitta of one reality. But now there are many objects, not just one reality at a time. So learn to let go ignorance, clinging, so very gradually, and it cannot be eliminated, it cannot be eradicated at all if there is no more moments of understanding unexpectedly. When it's accumulated, progress, strong enough, understanding what is there. From the accumulation of the understanding from moment to moment. So it's so far to understand the truth because there is still clinging to that as something. But in truth, only one characteristic of one reality appear to be object of understanding. Nothing can be there. What is the world? Not of the world of the sun, the road, the sky, and so on, but only one object is there. And when it's through mind door, not through the eye door, or in darkness. But right understanding is so keen that it can understand the truth because what is there in darkness has to appear in darkness to right understanding. So now we learn to understand, to have confidence of the truth in order to let go. The path is not just the word, the eightfold factors, cetasikas, but the moment of understanding, secretly, subtly, begin to be the path. Goes on, step on, at moment of understanding only. That's the way to develop right understanding of what is there as anatta. Otherwise, it's all atta, the world of atta, until the attanness has been eliminated gradually until it cannot arise again. How long it will take? That's why it needs parami to support, to condition the understanding, to sharpen right understanding, so sharp to understand even just very tiny moment or reality as it is, as it is mean, as not as things at all. It's just hardness, see. And hardness now appears not clear as when it is vipassana or the second round yet. And compared to the moment when it's sharper to understand, to directly pinpoint on that how tiny it is. And nothing is there at all. And that is when one reality arises and appear as nimitta, even it's so very tiny. When it experiences, it's by way of nimitta. One nimitta, see, nothing else. Imagine. Otherwise, there can never be the let go, the cling, the idea of self at all. So we live in the world of nimitta.
John, I think Robert appreciates those points very much. But the point that he has a question about is, for example, when the visible object impinges on the eye sense. His question is, how can it just be one rupa only, one rupa and one kalapa only that impinges on eye sense, one rupa? It seems to him that there must be more than one visible object, rupa, from different kalapas that impinges at the same time. Because he thinks, how can just one dot only impinge?
Okay. Is there any difference between something seen by the microscope and just the common eye? Panya is greater than that. That's why only one process or one tiny kalapa cannot be known, but they have to be experienced. Otherwise, when one tiny bit is missing, what appears now does not appear as it is now appearing.
So it's always one tiny bit impinging at a time, one rupa at a time that impinges in order for there to be the picture, the image.
In daily life, hardness is touched. It's a big bit enough to be known. Is that right? Reduce it into what is seen by microscope, just one dot. It's different from it appear not to the microscope but to the common eye as one dot, right? When we say many dots, each one is one only. And
any last words, Robert, before?
And when there is the idea, many dots, it means that many impinges.
I disagree a bit on that, Ajahn. I think it can be one tiny dot, but just more than one kalapa to be in that tiny dot. Because one kalapa seems to me to be submicroscopic. Like so.
Buddha said, what appears by way of nimitta, no matter small or big, appears as nimitta. Big nimitta or small nimitta. but more tiny than that by the microscope. But this is by panya, much more different
Yeah,
from the microscope.
I don't dispute. Would know one.
That's the difference between the keener and sharper panya. For example, touching there cannot be just one tiniest dot, but when they're touching many dots, but it does not appear as dots. It appears as small or very tiny dot, but still it can be separated much more than that, like the microscope. And there are many qualities of microscopes. See, on and on and on and on, until the panya of the Buddhayana. So he just said, what appears by way of the nimitta, no matter small or big nimitta, it's still by nimitta, even so very tiny.
Perhaps we can continue next time if you're able to join us, Robert. And Gillian also, hope you can join next time too. Very glad to see everyone.
Yeah. Thank you,
And-
Ajahn. Thank you.
We're coming to Nepal to the family. Hopefully